So I predicted this and I said it probably would happen on the 5th that indoor dining it won't be allowed. And would you believe we're the only country in Europe, the only country actually, Canada, only one other province in Canada, and we're not allowed indoor dining. America, all across America, you're allowed to go indoors to the pub or into a restaurant. Here, I don't know what's different here, but again, NEFIT, the problem is NEFIT. NEFIT has too much power. We need to get rid of them. Need to get rid of them. 2 years of this crack going on. And as Matthew McGuire did say, and this is a good point, we didn't have vaccines a long time ago before the beginning of the pandemic, and there was still indoor dining at some stages, and there was no vaccines or anything like that, and people were allowed to go indoors. Take for example, I think before December, there was no vaccines or anything like that, and they were all went in. There was no problem. There was no big problem there. And what's the issue now? We have vulnerable people vaccinated and X, Y, and Z. And efforts still saying this new Delta variant is going to, it'll be 2,000 cases, it'll be 6,000 cases, it'll be this, that, and the other. But where's the evidence? Where's the proof? If you take the vaccine or anything like that, it should stop you from getting it. But again, this is the thing. They don't say, then what's the need for getting the vaccine if they're going to lock down people and not allow people to go here, there, and everywhere? And I do recognise they're allowed to have outside dining and things like that. But still, inside dining. But here's the kicker too. You have to be fully vaccinated in X, Y, and Z. And now you might say that's a bit discrimination because again, young people haven't got the vaccine yet. For example, young children with their parents, they can't go. They haven't got the vaccine, and that's just punishment. They haven't got the vaccine, so they're not going to be allowed in. There is young people. I know a few young people have a summer job in the pub and the restaurant. They're making a few bucks for the college. And again, they probably won't be allowed to go in now because it's very lack of clarity. And after just saying this, the 29th, today's the 29th, it's a few more days to the 5th. And I know pubs and restaurants that were preparing and they were very hopeful this time because they thought this time they would finally be able to have indoor and outside dining and make a bit more bucks, if that makes any sense. And they did invest in safety precautions and things like that. And in this country, it's just a medical dictatorship that's running the country. NEFIT will not allow anybody to have fun or have any kind of freedom at all. And this is the crack that's going on. Every other country in Europe, again, it'd be different if every other country were the same as ours on the same plate. But no, in England they have a different. In other countries, Norway, Sweden, Denmark, they all have a different. They all have common sense. They're not ruled by medical dictatorships. That's just saying this is what's going to happen. And this is 2 years is going on. We have nearly 3 million people vaccinated, for example, in this country, who have got the first or second dose. We have the vulnerable people vaccinated. Like, what more did they really want? Like, seriously, what more do they want from people? Really, an effort. Because, again, it's really just a medical dictatorship, along with a dictatorship from the high government. And no wonder Fianna Fáil's in the lowest support ever. Because this is just outrageous, especially what they're doing to pubs and they're doing to rural restaurants, etc., etc., and to what they're doing to businesses. Because now, wait and see in December, they'll be like, this Delta variant, in 2 months' time, or probably even a week's time, they'll be like, this Delta variant's gone out of control, we'll have to lock down the country again. Which is what's going to happen. I will mark my words, because they're too high in power in this country. They want to have another lockdown. The government want another lockdown. And that's just putting it straight to will, because we can see the way an effort's going on. They're going to entice the government to bring in the lockdown, another lockdown. And we can see that. They already talk about the Delta variant, and more or less what they're saying to us, it's going to be another lockdown. And that's just putting it straight. What they're talking about inside dining, that's a bad sign. Because coming into this, they're already saying that the hospital system is going to be overwhelmed in the summertime. We won't be seeing in the winter time with the flu season, but again, there's very lack of the flu nowadays. You notice that very much. And the flu's gone away for some reason. But you're going to see this in December. To be like, we have to close down the country in December. Don't want the hospice to be overwhelmed. And it's Jenny. She was on. I follow her on Twitter. She was on Cork radio. Which I can't remember the radio host. But she actually said, "What's the government actually doing to give? Is there more hospital beds? Like, we have to ask these questions. Is there more ICU beds? Do we have hospice kit? We have tents outside. We have places outside. The army. We're using naval ships for hospital beds, whatever. That's not happening. Again, there hasn't been a big increase in hospital beds. We have to admit it. There hasn't been a big increase in ICU beds or anything like that. And they're saying the hospitals could be overwhelmed. And there's less people in hospitals now than ever was. It doesn't make any sense. It really, at the end of the day, it doesn't make any sense. And particularly, it's not fair. It's really, really not fair on our restaurants and our pub owners. too. Because a lot of people, because there's discrimination too, because people who can't get the vaccine. Take for example, there's few people I know that have serious medical conditions. And like there's one woman at 84 I know, and her doctors advised her not to get it because she could take a heart attack from it. Because she's very funny, but she's very very brittle, and it could easily kill her by taking the vaccine. And if she gets a side effect from it, it could easily kill her. And you might say COVID could easily kill her too. That's a possibility too. But the vaccine's more dangerous to her because she is because she's very brittle. She's after having an operation, and she's very vulnerable. She the doctor said it's high risk for her to take the vaccine. But yeah, you know what I'm saying. You get what I'm saying. It is something that we do need to just stop in its tracks because NPHET, it's gone on too long. It's disbanded. We get if so, have an election in the morning. We elect whoever we want to NPHET. We make a new NPHET, but by people who vote, we get rid of Dr. Tony Holohan. Is whatever they say, the person with the glasses, whatever. We know we elect people in, and that would be more fair. At least then we can say we elected them in, and we can tell them what we want, the people want. Because it's got to this point now. It's 2 years on, nearly 2 years on. It's over a year on. Well, it's come to this point now. You have to just trust people. You have to just trust people and give people the benefit of the doubt that they can actually do things themselves. They don't need the government, or the local authorities, or anybody else standing above them, saying you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't do the other. And it's really really cruel because again people pay their taxes. It's up to people, and again as many people have said, it's up to them to decide what's risky, what's safe, what's not safe. It's just common sense. When we're 18, you give them more freedom, you give them more liability, you give them more responsibility, and that's essential in democracy. That you choose for yourself what's right for you and what's right for your family. Again, it's not up to the government. The government can maybe advise you, but they can't tell you because again they're going on the way they're going on is telling people to do this. They're telling private businesses to do this, that, and the other. It's not a democracy. It's a dictatorship if you're ordering things to be done. It's not saying a voluntary basis. You could say more face shields or whatever. You have I don't know how fucking God knows what the government could bring in next. But again, this is the thing. We have to get rid of NPHET. We do really have to get rid of it. So yeah, that's all I'm going to say.